Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all. I welcome all the students to this session on smart studies for during exam leave. I'm sure more will be joining in within the next 5 minutes. So, without wasting any time, I would first brief regarding the purpose of this session. The purpose of this session was that अगर अगस्त में या हम डिसाइड करें कि नवंबर अटेम्प्ट देना है या मई अटेम्प्ट देना है, how do I plan my entire study leave from the pre-leave period to the actual leave to the 2-3 days or 1 week before exams to right at the day of exams. तो उसका एक प्रॉपर गाइडलाइन चाहिए हमें from none other than the our CVO students who have been rankers or who have scored well or who have an experience of guiding and mentoring some students. So we have 4 very good speakers with us, and I thank Amit Chheda for supporting this idea. We are also thinking of having a mentoring sort of program. Later on, you will get a feedback form. So where we are planning that one mentor will help 2 students on WhatsApp or on calling as per their convenience throughout the leave period. So we'll get to that in the feedback form. First, I would like to invite Amit Bhai to share his views on the topic for today.
Thank you, Jintan. Thank you, everyone. And on behalf of CVOCA Chartered and Cost Accountant, I welcome all the students. I think everybody, those who are attending are from maybe they are going to they have cleared their inter CA. Now they must be appearing for the final CA in a maybe this attempt or maybe subsequent attempt. Now it is always good to understand how this merit rankers would have scored such a great mark, because they, like everyone, they would have also attended their offices in a other than leave period, and they would have studied in the majorly in the leave period only. So what distinct thing they would have done, that will make a lot of difference, when you are doing also study. So the important is not studying very hard, but how smartly we can plan our studies so that we can cover a lot of things, and in a short time of spend, everything is being covered properly, and at least at the time of exam we can write those things, and we can at least explain what are the requirements of the papers, how to study in the theoretical subject, how to study the practical subject. Both feel a different concept altogether. You cannot apply a similar way to when you are doing study for both of these kind of topics. So I think we should learn those tricks from the all the merit rankers, and I hope at least we can implement few of them, and at least something can help us all to get through those exams. It is all will be a great help for everyone. Just for those who maybe appearing for inter CA and are going to appear for the final CA, CVOCA has a for the needy student, we have done a lot of tie-up with a lot of classes. They offer discounts to us, and we have a lot of soft scheme offer loans. We give it to students, to the needy students. So anyone needs some funding and all that for their classes or for CA curriculum, are most welcome for that. There are some set parameters for those things, and there are forms and everything are there on the website. You can take an advantage of that. I think with this mod, I know people have come for listening to this merit rankers, and I'll be in between if I keep on talking. So I would request Chintan to take the proceedings further and introduce the speakers.
Yes, thank you, Amit Bhai. Thanks a lot. Now I'll request CS Dipti Chheda to introduce the speakers for today. We'll be introducing all the 4 speakers together so that the flow of the session is not broken in between. So I request Dipti Chheda to introduce speakers for today.
Thank you, Chintanji, and good evening, everyone. So today I am going to introduce 4 speakers. Today they are CA, and what they were one just before all students, they were also in your stage, but how they have done difference in their life and achieved good in their achieved. They have done achievement in their life with smart studies, and they are going to give a brief on that. So first I will introduce Disha Veera. She has done her Disha Veera. Please say hello. Yeah. So Disha Veera is a CA Disha Veera, and she has done her articleship at KNAV, and currently also she is working at KNAV, startup consulting and investment banking. And what she have achieved in her result, in more than 6 subjects, she has achieved exemptions. So it is a very remarkable journey of CA for Disha Veera in her entire lifetime. And now next is Hetvi Shah. So Hetvi Shah, please. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So Hetvi Shah, she has done her articleship at GBCA and Associates LLP, and she has scored. She is All India rank 40 in her CA final, and All India rank 44 in his CA inter. So very proud for Hetvi Shah for that. Now next is Raj Shah. Raj, yeah. So Raj Shah is also done articleship at PwC, and currently also working in PwC. And his highlight is he is All India rank 47 and good marks, also scoring a good mark. So he is an All India rank 47. And also now introduce Ayush Dedhia.
Hi everybody.
So Ayush Dedhia is currently working at Corporate and International Tax Advisory at Deloitte, India. And he is All India rank 33 with more than 7 subject exemption in more than 7 subjects. So very, very good scores, achievements from all these our speakers, and they also guide to our all future upcoming CA. So I now give over to Chintanji to proceed further. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And all of them have such high marks कि थोड़ा थोड़ा सबको भी दे दिया तो काफी लोग पास हो जाएंगे. So I welcome everyone. And Ayush, he is also our subcommittee member and the brain behind this seminar. So now I'll request Amit Chheda to felicitate these speakers with e-certificates. So the first certificate is to Disha Veera, Hetvi Shah,
Thank you.
Raj Shah, and Ayush Dedhia. I am not purposely not introducing them as CA because I want you guys to feel that they are one of you only. They were just students few days back. Okay. So now Ayush, over to you. I think you can share your screen and we begin the session.
Surely.
The first speaker will be Disha Veera.
So good evening to one and all present here. Thank you, President Chintan Dipti, for such a warm welcome. I'm really honored to be able to speak here. Starting with this session on study leave. First of all, I would just want to remove a common notion or a stress point that everyone has is, I have not studied for 2.5 years. All I've done is attended classes and I'm totally messed up. I have backlog. Is there still a way I could clear? Yes. Whatever amount of study leave you get, be it 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, it is enough for you to really crack this exam, even if you've not studied during your 2.5 years. So don't be disheartened. This is the time when you can really start. Now, the whole session today is divided broadly into 4 parts. We have 4 speakers. So first we have a pre-study leave period, which starts sometime before your study leave actually starts. Then is during study leave. What are the activities that you should do when you start your studies? Then the third is before your exams, the period when you've done your revision and you are actually prepping towards your exam now. And the last part is what should you do on your exam day? So all my friends here are going to elaborate on each one of these points. What I'll do is I'll give you a brief summary and an overview of all the broad pointers that you need to keep in mind during this entire phase. So let's start with pre-study leave period. Now, the very first point that you need to keep in mind is finish all your classes. A lot of students are still left with their classes till the end minute, and they end up wasting time just watching videos and not doing self-study. Remember that study leave is a time for you to study on your own. That's a self-time that you need to give to yourself. However, if you want to do elective paper during your study leave for the first time, that's advisable because a lot of students do not take classes for this kind of subject. So in my personal case, I did 2 subjects for the first time during study leave. One was law and the second was elective paper. Law again was something that I had not taken classes for. So it was my first time studying law at that time. So hence I thought that if I could devote a little more extra during study leave, I could comfortably manage it. So that's how I tried to fit that into my study leave period. But in case you're planning to take classes for all these subjects, it is preferable that you finish all of this before you start with your study. The next point that you need to keep in mind is have your notes ready. This is the least you can do before you start with your study leave. I know most of you all would be busy with your articleship. You all would have missed a lot of classes. Your notes would all be incomplete. Ek do sum reh gaya hoga, this, that. Do one thing before you start with your study leave. Ensure you complete all your books. Take Xerox copies of your friends' notes in case you're going to refer that. And understand what are the books you're going to study from. Is it the module? Is it your class notes? Or is it some third author? First, fix those notes. During your study leave, do not waste your time under peer pressure. He is referring from some other notes. My friend is studying from some other notes. Do not waste your time on doing that. Stick to what you decide before your study leave. And this is the time when you should be doing the brainstorming on what notes I should refer. And the last point is prepare a plan. Obviously, you have a long period in front of you. Let's say it's 3 months or 4 months, 5 months. You need to plan it. Now, what should your plan be like? It should be simple, practical, and it should be customized to your needs. Now, just for an example, I'll share what was my plan. Your plan could be completely different. It could be from what you want, but I'll share what I had done and it really worked for me. I had divided my plan simply into number of days I would devote for each subject. Now, the number of days was based on what was my level of preparation for each of the subjects. So, for example, I told you for law, that was the first time I was studying law. So I did additional days for law so that I could manage it within my period. Now, a lot of students do micromanagement, that is, they decide what chapter they would do on what day and what hour they would, like what they do it by hour also sometimes. What I did is, when I would start a particular subject, I would decide a broad plan of how many chapters I should do each day to complete the whole subject on time. And let's say if I was not able to complete something, let's say because some topic was difficult and I had to devote additional time for it, I would improvise my plan on a daily basis. So let's say if I couldn't achieve today, I would think कि कल थोड़ा extra कर लेते हैं, थोड़ा stretch कर लेते हैं. नहीं तो if I had kept a buffer of let's say 1 or 2 days, I would utilize that buffer to make up for something that I had not planned for. So this way, it sort of helped me to stay within my broader plan, at the same time improvise on a daily basis. Because I feel that on day one, it is very difficult for you to plan each day of your 4 months, correct? So this could be sort of a way you could start. The second point is I had 1.5 hours of each day devoted only for revision. See, in CA, you've been doing this course for about 2.5 years now. And there are things that you've learned maybe 2 years back and things maybe you've done 15 days back, which you'll not remember. The key here is to retain these concepts. And I believe that revision is a must here. It is not necessary that you need to do revision at the end of the subject or towards the end of your study leave. I used to revise for 1 hour or 1.5 hours on a daily basis so that I could retain whatever I had studied in, let's say, last 15 days or let's say last 10 days. So that is something that helped for me. You can try that out too. And the last thing was, after every subject got completed, I had kept 2 days just for paper writing. So let's say 15 days is devoted to FR, and that subject is now fresh to me. I have 2 days to write 4 papers, each of 3 hours. I would create a proper exam type of setting and write those papers and try to understand my mistakes. So basis that, I would get confidence that, okay, I at least know so much. And whatever mistakes I made, I would just revise those concepts as it is, they're very fresh. So as such, even if you make that mistake, you will be able to recollect and grasp faster. So this way, it helped me to create a holistic plan around all of my preparation. And this is just suggested. This is something that really worked for me. You can customize it if you feel that, you need a very detailed plan or you want to go some other way. But ensure that you create one plan. That's the most important thing. Now that we are all set with a plan, we've completed our classes, we have the notes ready. Now starts the study leave. What do we do in the study leave? Now, first few broad pointers. First is fix your goal. Study leaves, though it's maybe 4 months, 5 months, it's a long process. You will feel it once you start studying that there is so much to do. And every day you need some motivation to get up and to study with the same vigor. So fix your goal. If it is to become a CA in your first attempt, write down on a poster CA Disha Veera or whatever your name is. Or if your aim is to get a rank, then write down on a sheet of paper that rank 1, rank 2, or rank holder Disha Veera. Or it could be even simple as writing a motivational quote. So in my case, I had problem with being distracted or having a lot of thoughts. So I wrote down that a successful warrior is an average soldier with laser-like focus. So every time I was bored or I was distracted, and I would just look up and see right there on my board an inspirational quote, which actually brought me back or gave me the motivation to work. So this is, in my opinion, very, very important. It might seem silly to you at first, writing these things down, but trust me, you are going to need all of that. So fix your goal. The second is stick to the plan. We've all set a broad goal, and while I've told you that you can improvise on a daily basis, you've got to stick to the broader plan that you fixed. Ayush, can you click? Yeah. Right. So you can stick to your plan. You need to stick to your plan. If you do not follow the broad timeline that you fixed, you'll actually overshoot and probably you'll have to cut down on something else. So you can improvise on a daily basis, but ensure that you stick to your broader plan. And consistency here is very, very important. A lot of times you just make a plan, and if you do not follow it, it's all going to go in waste. So be disciplined. Think of that as your Bible and a way that you can crack it. Some students, have very limited time, let's say like 3 months or 2 months, and sometimes they feel, how am I going to achieve it? Trust me, I've heard life cases where students said, I just made a plan of how I could finish. Let's say if I have a limited period and I want to achieve in this period, I created a plan, and when I stuck to that plan, I could make it even in that short period. So it can do wonders for you. Trust me. So definitely stick to your plan. The third point here is plan a routine. There's a lot of importance to this point to understand what is your area of efficiency. Now, you would have heard a lot of rankers, and I had seen a lot of people who said that get up early in the morning at 5 o'clock and start studying. That's the best time. And then a lot of students would try that, and then they would realize that morning is really not their time. They were all long night people who, found the night hours very easy to study. So identify what's your sweet spot what is the kind of routine you are comfortable with and you're more efficient. So let's say if you would like to cover a major chunk of your study program after 9 or after 10 minutes, all calm, that's your study routine, and plan it accordingly. And every time you plan this routine and work according to it, at night, you'll feel a lot of satisfaction coming to you that you've achieved what you aimed for. So I think planning a routine is very, very important. And another point that you should keep in mind is study in a way that would allow you to revise quickly before the exams. This is really important. What happens is a lot of students study from 10 different books. They refer to third author books, they refer to the module, they refer to their class notes, and so many other things. Remember, you just have 1.5 days to revise before your exam. How are you going to do that? This is the time when you're actually studying that you need to consolidate all your books. So just to give you a practical example, DT is considered one of the most vast subjects. Now, what I had done during my class, I had received a summary book of sorts from the class teacher only. So it had few points, it did not have few points. So what I did is when I was referring to other books, let's say module or third author books, I would write down those additional points in the summary book. So before the exam, I just had to refer to one book completely. That's it. So it made my life so easier before the exam, and it also helped me in revising quickly because I knew, okay, there's just one book that I need to study from. So ensure that you consolidate all your notes. It'll be really helpful before your exam. Also important thing is make markings. A lot of students, let's say if you cannot consolidate it, you cannot have all things at one book, ensure that you mark all the important points so that you can skim through only those important points before the exam. And this is especially helpful for question type of revision. For example, if you want to see a particular question, it could be that there is a particular concept or particular topic in that question that you want to look before your exam, then you can just highlight that. So that's again an important point. Moving to the next slide. Another important point is maintain a mistake book. Repeating mistakes is one of the greatest thing that you could do. Making one is definitely a learning. So as I told you, after each subject, I devoted about 2 days just to writing papers. And my friend Hetvi, she will elaborate on this, but I just thought I should mention it here, that after you write your papers, I would recommend that you maintain a mistake book. What happens is before your exams, you do not have time to go through the paper and see the solution and then understand what is your mistake. Instead, you can maintain a mistake book where you give 2-3 lines of context on what your mistake was and mention what your mistake is. And trust me, in my personal experience, I have secured about 8 to 10 marks in few papers just because I saw the mistake book before my exam. So it was very helpful for me, and that is something that I would recommend you all to do during your study. To the next point, avoid distractions, but take breaks. A lot of people confuse breaks to be real distractions, and hence they avoid taking one. Let me tell you, the brain, scientifically, it has been proven scientifically that the brain cannot concentrate for more than 20 minutes. So you need breaks at regular intervals. But what is a break? If you saw a movie for 1 hour, that was your allotted time for break, and after that you were thinking about the movie for 3 hours, then that's not considered a break. That's completely a distraction. But if you, let's say, took some break and your mind was faster, you were much more productive after that break, then that was actually very constructive. And that's what happens if you take a constructive break. It could be, as simple as talking to your parents or siblings or a good friend, or even listening to music, or maybe going for a walk in a garden, or doing yoga or meditation, or maybe playing some musical instrument that you're good at. These are the kind of breaks which help you relax your mind and increase your energy after those breaks. So these are really important and could be really help you complete your stuff much earlier than you wanted. So good efficiency boosters, and I would recommend that you take few breaks every day. The next point is stay healthy. This is one of the most underrated points that most CA students ignore. A lot of times, in fact, this is the case for girls, you like gain 5-7 kgs after your CA final. But let me tell you, it's very important that you stay healthy during that period. I have so many friends who had faced a lot of health issues, especially towards the end of their study period, and that really affected their study time. So ensure that you stay healthy. It could be like minimal exercising every day. It could be as good as like just walking or maybe skipping or doing yoga, and eating healthy food. It doesn't mean that you have to eat lettuce and stuff like that, but you could avoid junk food or street food, which could get you ill, or even as simple as not eating fried food, because that takes up a lot of digesting capacity. So your body's energy is being utilized at just digesting that heavy food. Instead, have food which is light, which keeps you fresh every day and keeps you healthy. So that way, even you will be physically motivated to study. It's a very important thing that you remain healthy. You cannot afford to be ill. So this is something which is very underrated. So please take care of this. And the last point that you need to keep in mind during your study leave is avoid discussing your plan with a lot of people. I have seen this with quite a lot of people, and sometimes it happened in my case also, that I discussed something with my friend and the person has finished 3-4 subjects while I'm still stuck on, let's say, 1 or 2 subjects. That inferiority complex is just in our minds. If we trust our plan, we do not need to discuss it with a lot of people. Just stick to what you're doing during this period. All the motivation that you can get is really required. But if you compare your plan with others, it's bound that you'll be comparing it with others and feel inferior that you've not done something, and that insecurity will just take up your brain power. So just a suggestion, try not discussing your plan with others and just stick to what you're doing. Now, these are the broad pointers that you need to keep in mind during like the core part of your study leave. Just few tips what you could do towards the end. I'm sure Hetvi, Raj and Ayush are going to elaborate, but just a little few tips here and there. What I did is during the end of my study period, I started revising with paper 8, that is the last paper first, and moved in descending order, such that I reached paper 1 just 4 days before my FR paper, that is paper 1 exams. So that way, I started with a concept which is not going to be revised until, let's say, paper 8. So I started with that and then moved towards paper 1 and sort of merged the two. So I found that was very helpful for me. If it is to you, you can try this out. The second point that you need to keep in mind is revise all key concepts. Do not touch anything new. Make sure you see the mistake book. Like I said, it was very helpful for me. Do not panic on the last day if you've not revised any particular concept. It's totally all right. Just trust yourself and move forward. And the last and the most important point is be positive and have confidence. I believe that, let's say, if you do not know any concept on the exam date or you've not revised any particular point, if you think using your common sense in a normal state of mind, you will be able to at least partly answer that question. So have that confidence in yourself. And that's the key thing that a lot of people just stammer on or just go blank. Just trust yourself and have confidence. This is not the end of the world. And you have it in you to really crack this. So I think with this, I would end here, and I would like ask my colleagues to please continue.
Thank you, Disha. Thanks a lot. And now without wasting any time, we'll move on to the next session by Hetvi. So that will be for preparation during study leave. Over to you, Hetvi.
Hi guys. So I really appreciate you taking out your 2 hours and attending today's session. And obviously I'm thankful to CVOCA for inviting me today. So when it comes to study leave, so I'll be starting with the first thing is, I'm assuming, as what Disha said, that probably you have attended classes or done self-study and you know what is the syllabus and what are you going to refer to, your materials. So that is something that you are already aware about, and when it comes to preparation of the study plan. So I would say that first thing, your timings for the day, as well as how many slots you'll be breaking your day into, how many breaks you'll be taking, your lunch break, your breakfast, your time to probably sleep or take a short nap in the middle if you want, your dinner, your time to check your mobile phone. Like, see to it that you're setting timings for every slot. That's really, really important. So probably it will take you first a week to figure out what's working for you, because after 2.5 years, I would say you're coming back to your complete only study zone. You're not going to be touching your laptop at all for your any office work. So probably a week will go into that comfort zone. But I would even say fixing a location for every slot that you are selecting. So it can even be that in the morning, for me, my bedroom works the best. In the afternoon, it can be my parents' bedroom, or it can be your library. If you are going to a library, see to it that you're taking your timings in such a way that the amount you're spending in traffic and commute, if you are based in Mumbai, is the least. So a location matters a lot also. How, like, for every slot, and I feel a lot of people find just sitting in one place for the whole day, 12 hours, 14 hours, and just sitting at that same one place is not possible for a lot of us. So yes, you find your spots in your house. And then when it comes to allocation of days for your subjects. So for me, I was very, very grateful that I had a 5 month study period. I could go for 3 readings in my 5 months. But I don't know. So if you have a 3 month study period, if you are going for industrial training and you're getting only a 3 month, you need to see to it that you are planning your number of days that you are allocating to your every subject very, very well. Now, going further, as soon as I know that I'm going to spend 10 days in my first read for my X subject, you need to see to it that on the first day itself, you are figuring out that in these 10 days, for every topic, how much time am I going to put in these 10 days in my this reading that I'm doing. Now, it is possible that you had planned on day one that, I'm giving an example when it comes to audit, that I'd planned I'm going to spend 4 hours for my bank audit chapter. But on day 3, when you've actually taken bank audit, you've spent probably 6 hours or 7 hours. So it's really important that at the end of day 3, you revise your plans for the remaining 7 days to see to it that your target completion for the subject in those many days is not getting affected. And it's always advisable to keep buffer days in the middle. Probably after 2 subjects, or yes, in your whole study period, I would say keeping buffer days is very, very important. So for me, taking one subject per day worked the best, because that's how 1.5 day before the exam, you will be just doing that one subject. And that's how it's worked for me in inter CA as well as in final CA. But a lot of my friends who are rankers too, for them, a combination of practical and theory has worked. Like if they're taking 8 hours of practical, 4 hours of theory, or if they're taking 8 hours of theory, 4 hours of practical, like 8 and 4 combo has worked for a lot of people. 6 and 6 combo has worked for a lot of people. So the combination of practical and theory subjects also helps a lot of people. But if you are going for that method, I would say when it comes to making your study plan and allocating topics, you need to be even more precise when it comes to that. And one thing that I would suggest, that while you're making a study plan, if in first reading, you know that it's always advisable to scan through the pages of the module in your first reading itself. And if you know that these are the topics that I'm not comfortable with in my first read itself, you make up a mind there itself that this is the topic, whether I want to put time into it further and clear it out and go with that till my exam date, or whether this is the topic I don't want to do it at this point and I'll take it afterwards in my future ahead. So it's very important how you're allocating your time for your topics that you will decide in your first reading itself that you'll be taking on for your second and third read ahead. Again, if you've decided that this is the topic that I'm going to skip for the exam, you see to it that you're never getting the thought ever at the back of your mind ever again, and never get that self doubt कि अगर ये एग्जाम आया तो क्या, अगर आया भी तो 5 मार्क का आएगा, 6 मार्क का आएगा, उतना रिस्क ले लेना, because you just need an exemption. Exemption is 60, and yeah, so it's 6 marks and 60. Just you do your math and your fractions and your time and cost analysis, and probably that's what will work out for you. One thing I would advise in the study plan, which I feel a lot of people might miss out, is keep specific number of days for the ICI MCQ booklets for the 4 or 5 papers, if 4 papers for inter or 5 papers for CA final. Every MCQ booklet takes time, and it is really advisable that yes, you go through your MCQ booklet that has been published by ICI, because that is what is going to see to it that whatever concepts that you have read through is you're applying it in the best way, because those 30 marks are surely bonus for you. And you don't want to miss out on those 30 marks. Again, while you're making your study plan, you keep your number of days for test series fixed in your study plan itself. So as Disha said that she had kept 2 days after each subject and she used to write 4 papers. For me, what had worked was after every reading, I used to write 1 paper. So after my second reading, I had written 1 paper, and after every reading, I used to go through suggested answers and RTPs and MTPs of my past attempts. And I used to make a FAQ booklet, like frequently asked questions in exam booklet. And I used to keep marking down points कि ये कौन से पेज मेरे study material या मेरे module में से मेरे को ये refer करना है आगे. So this will, I would say, especially when it comes to subjects like law, direct tax, and indirect tax, or if you've taken economic law and paper 6D. So if you go through the past papers, you know that these are some really frequently asked questions. And if you have those section numbers or those markings written in your notebook, when you are revising, probably, so what works for me was after every 6th day, the 7th half day, I used to revise what I've done in the 6 days. So when you are revising, you just give a skim through that book will also help you, I feel. Moving forward, if you ask me, I was asking, is test series a must? Yes, test series is a must. Some people, I would say at least one series of every subject you should write. If you feel this subject is a weak point for me or something that I have to work on it even further, even more, I would say write 2 papers, write 3 papers. Now, again, number of test series depends on your study plan, on how many days and how many hours are you allocating it. So in the study plan, if you've kept, as Disha said, for 4 papers, you write 4 papers. I had kept for 1 written and other all I used to just go through. I have followed that. I know people, for them, following the whole 16-day period, just as they would do after each paper in the real exam scenario, doing that during the 3rd reading has also helped them. So you select what works for you. And I'm sure everyone has had some success factor for their inter-CA. So take something out of that and use that while planning your study plan, and see to it that you are including your test series in that. So one important thing that I'd come to know while, I think in the month of April, was on the BOS application on your phone, you can see videos of discussions made by professors on the BOS app on various pointers and factors what they feel as an examiner that a student should answer and keep in mind while writing their papers when it came to the mock test series 1 and 2. And they've even in the videos, they've seen to it that all the MCQs have been solved by them with a proper solution. And in those videos, again, they tell you that what an examiner expects from your answer. So probably if you can watch that for all 8 subjects, best. But if you can't watch that for all 8 subjects, whatever is the subject where you feel you need to work on, or where you feel that this is that one subject that in group 1 जिसके वजह से ये मेरा group 1 दाव पे है. So for that one subject, I feel you should see that BOS video that will be on the application just a month before your exam. I feel moving forward, if you ask me, syllabus coverage, kitna syllabus cover karna hai. So I've had my cousins and my sisters who have covered 60% to 80% of the syllabus and have passed the exam. I know people who've covered 100% of the syllabus and got a rank. So syllabus coverage depends on what is your goal, how much time you have, and what is your plan. Now, when it comes to syllabus coverage, one thing I would surely advise is flip through all the pages of your study material or your module of all the subjects at least once before your exam. You should know कि ये page में module में क्या लिखा था. It's sure that you're not memorizing it. It's sure that probably you're never going to refer it ever again, but you should know what was there in the module. Again, if you ask me, on the BOS portal, for the new syllabus, for the new course, there is a chapter-wise weightage. It is a tentative chapter-wise weightage. I'm stressing on the point it's tentative, which I feel everyone should refer to when it comes to their first reading. And currently on YouTube, something that is very, very in trend and famous is every teacher uploads an ABC analysis. So it depends which professor are you following, which professor you are trusting. So combine the ABC analysis with the chapter-wise weightages on BOS and plan your studies and plan your readings. If whether it's your first read, second read, third read, depending on those weightages. So it's really, really important. Then it comes to amendments. Amendments will be there in corporate law. Amendments will be there in economic law, in direct tax and indirect tax. So amendment lectures are available on YouTube of various professors if you wish to refer to. And obviously, it's always published by the ICI, I would say 4 months before your exam, or 5 months, I would say 4 to 5 months before your exam. So see to it that you're taking a physical hard copy prints of those amendments. Wherever page numbering referencing is required, you're doing those referencing, whether it's in your notebook, whether it's in your notes, or whether it's in the module or whatever study material you are referring to. You see to it that referencing is done correctly. Amendments when it comes to time limits. Again, it comes to the quantum limits for various sections. If it comes to a completely new section that is being introduced, if it's the Finance Act, ICI loves questioning on amendments. So I would say that in every paper, you can expect 10 to 20%, even higher, I would say even higher in amendments when it comes to corporate law, direct tax and indirect tax. So see to it that amendments is something that you are touching on in your second reading, as well as something which is asked even in the MCQs nowadays, I would say. So in my direct tax paper, in the MCQs, the whole slum sale amendment was covered in 12 marks. So yes, amendments do matter. Moving forward, if you ask me now, smart revision. Revision करना कैसे है? So I said 6 days के बाद 7 day, I used to keep that half day for revision. If that does not work for you, as Disha rightly pointed out, at the end of the day, you put 1.5 hours every day for your revising. Something that has helped me a lot in my final CA that I've never implemented in my inter CA was audio revisions. Create a Google Drive link, share it with your friends, and whatever professor lectures you had referred to, or even on YouTube, there are audio revisions of all the provisions when it comes to laws, when it comes to formulas for SFM, when it comes to Ind ASs, the concepts when it comes. So yes, audio revision does help. Secondly, something which is in trend right now, probably I would say it started from December 21 attempt, are marathon lectures. So I was questioning whether to see a marathon lecture for a particular subject or no. Yes, marathon lectures are worth the watch. They are going to help you revise the concepts with the least effort and with maximum memorization that can happen in that period of time. So yes, marathon lectures is also something that you can give it a shot if you are comfortable sitting on a screen for those many number of hours. So it can be 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours. So marathon lectures, again, something that you can approach towards. Again, when it comes to smart revision, a lot of people maintain a notebook with abbreviations that they've made for that chapter for a lot of topics. So a lot of people keep referring to those notebooks just for those abbreviations for remembering those concepts when it comes to a lot of theory subjects, whether it's audit or whether it's SCMP theory concepts. So abbreviations works for a lot of people, but I would say in inter CA, it is something that is really taught by a lot of professors and probably a lot of students use it, but I don't know how much will it help you in final CA. But yes, abbreviation is always a method that you can resort to if you are comfortable with. Again, when it comes to memorizing and revising it in a better way, ICI publishes in the students journal in a diagrammatic format all the concepts. So even if you refer to the website, quick revision capsules are available. And if during your first revision you refer to it, you refer to it in your second and third revision. If you're not referring to it and if you're not resorting it, forget that this material even exists. But yes, anything in a chart form, in a diagrammatic form, in a comparison table form will obviously help you to retain it in your brain for a longer period of time in a systematic or in a specific order that probably you visualize it in, and probably you can reproduce it better in the exam if something is in a diagrammatic or in a chart format or in a pictorial format. Again, if you ask me for memorizing techniques, I would say the number of readings more you're doing, the higher the probability you're going to getting the closest score to 80s and 90s. So it all depends on how much time you have, how you're planning out your time, and how you're spending your efforts in memorizing that same topic again. Because I'm sure everyone in inter CA would agree that there are specific words that have to be reproduced in your answer paper, whether it's in audit, whether it's in taxation, whether it's in costing. So there are technical languages and technical words in each subject. So if you don't reproduce that, if you're writing it in a layman language, ICI is not going to give you marks. So if you want to score, you need to have a hang of that language for that subject that you're going to reproduce in your paper, and seeing to it that you're memorizing it in that fashion that in which you're going to reproduce is going to help you, I feel. So in FR, I would just give an example. In every Ind AS, you can't just solve numbers and come, or just write a journal entry and come. No, every Ind AS will have a specific logic or reasoning or a concept from certain paragraph of that Ind AS that they've referred to, which you are utilizing in that question in the exam. So it's always advisable to reproduce that concept. So when you're reproducing that concept, I would always suggest that while you're attending your classes itself, you maintain a notebook in which you are writing that concept, so you know what you're going to reproduce in the exam in for that 5 marks in those probably 8 minutes or 9 minutes that you have. So I would say it's really, really important that you know what you're going to reproduce from the whole concept, from the whole module for 5 marks, 6 marks, 7 marks, whatever it comes for. Moving ahead, I would again just say one more thing that yes, mental health is very, very important. After every subject, do take a break, take a 2 hour break, 3 hour break, take a constructive break, as Disha said. See to it that you are very, very excited to study your next subject. Have that same level of excitement and motivation. And anytime you feel low, don't spend the whole day just feeling low. Reach out to your closest person, I would say, at that moment itself, because you don't have time to be low. You need that energy levels to be high all the time, because that's when your brain can retain the best. So if ऑडिट में अगर आई एम जस्ट गिविंग एन एग्जांपल, ऑडिट में मेरा प्लान था कि ये 4 घंटे में करने का था, मेरा पूरा 8 घंटा चला गया। 8 घंटे में उसका तो मेरे को नहीं पता, मैं दूसरे 2 दिन आई वाज स्क्रिबिंग ओवर व्हाट हैपेंड इन दोस 8 hours. So I would constructively say that my 4 hours didn't get wasted, but rather my 2.5 days got wasted. Had I approached my parents or whoever you are close to on that day itself, at that 8th hour itself, I would have saved my 2.5 days. So approaching the right person as soon as you feel low is very, very important. Secondly, I would just suggest a short tip, probably that has kept me going, is don't think about the result at all when you are studying. Don't think what's going to come in the paper. Don't step into the shoe of the examiner at all. Just worry about your controllables. Just see to it that you are doing your best, and I would say that yes, there is everything that's going to take care of the rest. So yeah, thank you. Probably Raj can carry forward.
Yes, thanks a lot, Hetvi. And at this stage, just to break things up a bit, we can just, I think, take if any questions are there till now for just a couple of minutes, and then we'll ask Raj to continue his session. So if there are any questions, up chat box mein dal do, you can type it in the chat box, or we'll, as Hetvi and Disha said, we need to take a 1 minute break after 20 minutes. Mind needs to focus. So we'll continue with the next session. And in the meanwhile, if nobody else has a question, I had a doubt. When we were giving exams, Hetvi, you can maybe answer this. It was said that you have to adjust your sleep timing so that it does not clash with the exam timing. Otherwise, you tend to feel drowsy during exam timing. So is that true or no?
So yes, I would say that's absolutely true. From the first day itself, from December, I will see to it that I have the highest productivity from 1 to 5. 1 to 5 should be your hours. Those 4 hours should be when you're highly productive. So if I'm having lunch at 12:30, I see to it I'm not having rice, because rice makes you sleepy and you won't be able to study from 1 to 5. And yes, it's really important that you train. So if you have a habit to study in the night, I would say in those last 21 days, you change your routine and see to it that you are highly productive from 1 to 5.
Okay. So I think we'll move on. So over to you, Raj.
Okay, so hello everyone. As you know, my name is Raj Shah, and I have secured All India rank 47 in the May 22 examinations. So today I would be talking about your final revision before going into the examination hall, how you should spend your 1.5 days, how you should plan for your theory papers as well as practical papers in the final revision that you do before your exam. So first of all, just to give you a background, so I have done my articleship from PwC. So you know that since in a big four there is no work-life balance, and you seem to be working for almost the entire day, and so finding a time for self-study, leave the finding time for self-study. It was more difficult to even find time for watching lectures. So whatever study that had to do, I have done only in my study leave, and I could complete the entire portion and secure a rank in the examinations only because of proper planning. So I would say that the most important aspect that you need to consider in these 1.5 days before the exam is to plan. So if you don't plan properly, maybe you will not be able to complete the entire portion. And then if you go into the examination hall, half you have studied, half you could not cover, then it would not help. It would be a big blow to your confidence per se, and hence even if you remember something in the back of your mind, you will not be able to produce it in your paper. So the most important thing that I believe is that you should plan your entire 1.5 days properly in such a way that you can focus on the most important, you can devote the most time to the most important topics, and gradually as the importance of the topics decrease, you can reduce the time for the topics, and thus you can get a complete hold on the subject going into the examination hall. Okay, so I would highly suggest that before sitting for the examination of the studying for 1.5 days and sitting for the final examination, you should at least go through a 1.5 days mock exam for each subject, as Hetvi rightly highlighted. Because for me, especially, it helped me a lot to understand in which subjects I am good at, which subjects I am not good at, which subjects papers I could complete, which subjects I feel that थोड़ा और पढ़ लिया होता तो ज़्यादा अच्छा होता, या फिर what I have studied I am not able to produce it in my paper. So it would give you a very good understanding of where actually you stand at, और अगर आज मैंने पेपर लिखा तो मुझे कितने मार्क्स आएंगे, am I eligible to pass the examination or not. So doing a mock just before you sit for your final revision is very, very important. And that mock also you should get thoroughly checked from your professor or whomsoever you have taken a test series from. So it would help you a lot in actually assessing each and every point. So when they do a point wise question wise or point wise analysis of your answer sheet, you will get to know that how you should structure your answer, how should you write, so that for every point you can write properly and you can complete the paper in the 3 hours. And yeah, so first the most important thing is to write a mock. And as Disha and Hetvi have already structured your study leave part, but what worked for me especially, if I would say, then I used a 7, 6, 5 and 1.5 day plan. So talking about this is that for the first study, I took 7 days for each subject. For the first revision after my first study or first go through of my entire all subjects, then I took 6 days. For the second revision, I took 5 days, and then I went through a 1.5 days mock. So in this way, I could complete 2 revisions for each paper and then sit for a 1.5 day mock, so that whatever, even if I leave something in the first read, I could cover it in the subsequent revisions, get a hold of my paper, of all the papers, and easily pass through the subjects in the examination. बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि people spend a lot of time in their first initial reading or in the first revision, so that they are not able to do subsequent revisions, and फिर पहले 3-4 महीने पहले पढ़ा हुआ जो भी रहता है, they are not able to remember that in their 1.5 days. So this was the strategy that I adopted. Second is that during your 15 to 16 days of your examination, पूरा mobile phone से detached हो जाओ. Even if you were spending some time on Instagram or some social media before during the study leave, completely leave it for the 16 days. You should take your mobile phone only when you go for the examination and submit it back to your parents or your siblings when you return from examination. बाकी time तुम्हारे हाथ में phone होना ही नहीं चाहिए. I have seen many people of my friends वो phone पे बैठे रहते थे और Telegram पे या कोई भी ऐसे WhatsApp groups पे used to solve doubts of other people who post on that group. और उसमें क्या होता है कि you solve doubts, you feel that you have done good, but बाकी तुम्हारा study पीछे का सब छूट जाता है. So I will strongly recommend that mobile phone se to you should completely detach during the 16 days. Dusra is that when you once you sit for the first paper and you go for the second paper, you should completely forget about what you have done for the previous paper. बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि the previous paper has not went well and we keep on thinking about that paper, because of which we are not able to study for the next paper. मेरा भी एक paper, so our SFM paper was a bit difficult, I would say, for the CA final examination. So वो मेरा paper इतना अच्छा नहीं गया था, and afterwards coming out from the examination hall, maybe I discussed one or two questions with my friends. उसके वजह से क्या हुआ कि I thought I got to know that 2-3 of my questions were wrong straight hand. So because of which I felt like a bit low, and hence for that day coming home after the second examination, I could not study well. And उसके बाद वाला paper was audit, which as it is required, whatever time you study for audit is less. So I think that did cause a bit of did not थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम हो गया उसकी वजह से. So I would suggest that कि पहले का एग्जामिनेशन कैसा भी गया, you cannot alter what you have already written in the examination. So rather than focusing on that, I think that you should focus on the next paper that is coming in your way. Okay, so now I would structure the 1.5 days into two categories, that is theory papers and practical papers. So going into theory papers, I feel that in theory papers for the final revision, I don't think that you need to solve anything per se. If in your mock examinations you are able to solve around 80 to 90% of your paper, then I think that you are good to go. And rather than solving a question, solving a answer or writing some points in audit, rather you should focus on covering the 100% subject, because audit or law, if you are not able to cover the 100% subject, because as it is, if you cover 100% of your subject in the examination, you are effectively able to retain only 70 to 80% in your exam and write around 60 to 70%. So if you are not able to cover the 100% portion before the sitting for the exam, then as it is, it would be a disaster for you going into the exam. So rather than solving, I feel that you should focus only on learning the concepts and remembering or retaining how much maximum it is possible. Okay, then another thing that Hetvi also highlighted is the voice notes. So what I used to do is for every theory subject, all the important points, say for DT, all the important limits, or for all the chapters, say for a chapter that is in CA final, that is MAT. So in MAT, you have to go through the net profit of the company and arrive at the book profits. You have to do some adjustments. You have to add certain items and reduce certain items. So the list of these items, I created a list and created a voice note of it and send it in a WhatsApp group that only I was of a member of. And so whenever I used to get time during my study, during the entire 5 months of my study leave, whether having lunch or dinner or while traveling from my library, I would just go through this voice note. And वो खाली अगर तुम्हारे दिमाग में every 5 to 10 days अगर खाली चलता रहेगा तुम्हारे दिमाग में, तो it would help you a lot in retaining those concepts. And final revision, when you will do the final revision, it will help you a lot. So you will know that back of a mind कि हाँ ये पढ़ा है, ये याद है. Major points जो कुछ points हम भूल गए, we can do it again. Okay, and another is that for theory subjects, some people who follow marathon lectures, as Hetvi said, that watch that entire test series, entire lecture series of certain professors. So I feel that if it works for you, you should go for it. But for me, I feel that theory subjects, when I read it on my own and study it on my own, I could retain it better. So I per se did not watch any marathon lectures. For 1 or 2 chapters, if you are in a short of time और ऐसा लग रहा है कि ये शायद हम लोग नहीं go through कर पाएंगे, तो for that you can watch a quick video on YouTube of, say, for law, if Shubham Singhal, or for audit you can say Shubham Keswani is there. They are very good professors. You can go for a 1 to 2 chapters. You can watch their video lectures. But rest, I would feel that if you study it on your own, then it would be better. So because अगर तुमने खुद ने पढ़ा है और बोल के पढ़ा है, तो it would be easier for you to remember it in the exam, rather than अगर कोई और बोल रहा है और तुम सुन रहे हो. Also, creating a summary book for every subject is very important. And the 1.5 days mock that you do before your examination, final revision, that you should study from that summary book only. So for me, I studied from, if you ask me about law, then I studied from the Shubham Singhal's law summary book. And actually it helped me a lot to understand कि अगर 1.5 दिन में मैं इतना complete कर पा रहा हूँ कि नहीं, because as it is, the law or audit is a very vast subject. So if you don't don't create a summary book yourself, or if you don't purchase a summary book from outside, then I think to complete the 100% portion in that 1.5 days would be very difficult. So I would highly recommend that you should go for a summary notes, whether you make it yourself while doing your revisions or whether you purchase it from outside, that is up to you. Also, I feel that for theory chapters, a thing that I followed, maybe some of you would agree to it and some of you won't. So after my second revision, I once the last attempt papers were out, so what I did was, for the last attempt and the attempt before it, that was I sat for the May 22 attempt. So for the December 21 attempt and the May 21 attempt, all the questions that were asked in the theory chapter, theory subjects per se, I marked them in my summary notes or whichever notes I used to follow. And the main purpose of this was that if I was a short of time at the end during the final revision, then I know that ki ye questions last attempt mein aaye hue, so the probability of them coming again in this attempt is very low. So I would say you can take a 5% chance कि अगर कोई question आ भी गया वापस तो. But I have seen a general trend over the years कि last attempt and attempt before that, उसके questions coming back into this attempt is quite difficult. So this you should follow only if you are not able to complete your portion in the 1.5.
Raj, you've gone on mute.
Raj, 1 second. Can you unmute yourself?
Sorry. Sorry. Yeah. So if you now, can you change your slide to practical? So I think so. Was I audible to the last slide? Or what did you last hear?
Yeah, I think you covered the theory.
Ayush?
Last couple of lines for theory were muted, but now you can start with the practical papers. No worries.
Okay. Okay. So coming to practical papers, I think that in practical papers, solving is important. So for every chapter, you should solve at least one question from every chapter. That should be your question, which you should solve complete. You should solve complete, so you get an idea what is the format of the question, how you should actually write in the exam. So it would help you a lot to assess the time in which you can complete that question in the exam. अगर exam में वैसा question आया तो. So theory subjects, I don't think that solving necessary, but practical questions practical subjects I would highly recommend that you should solve at least one question from each chapter. And also in practical questions for say SFM or costing, you should maintain a formula book or the major formulas that on SFM there are many formulas, so you could maintain a formula book that you can go through in the last 1 to 2 hours before the exam, which would help you to remember all the important formulas. Agar wo koi question you could not cover in a revision, but you went through the formula of it, or you know the basic structure of how to solve the question, then I think that you can go about it in their exam. Also, just as you create a formula book in your practical paper, in theory paper, since MCQs are there, I would recommend that once you go through the MCQ booklet of your ICI, and I think that you should go through it. It is a very it ensures 100% coverage, and if you do the ICI MCQ booklet fully, then I don't think that you need to practice MCQs from anywhere else. So in MCQs are DT or IDT are quite challenging, and if you solve these questions after referring to the theory notes of DT IDT, then you will find that many questions you are not able to think practically when you apply those concepts really. So when you get stuck over anywhere in the MCQ questions, what I used to do is I used to create a list of all the points that where I was stuck in the MCQs or in some practical questions that I solve of direct text or indirect text, and I used to create a list of all these points in a notebook. And before going for my exam in the last 1 hour, I just used to go through this list of all the mistakes where I've done, or all the problems, that all the small highlight points that I've could not think of during while solving the MCQs. Say for example, in direct text there is a in calculating the long-term capital gains as per section 112A. So you need to calculate the long-term capital gains above rupees 1 lakh. So when I had read this when I was going through the theory of the capital gains in direct tax, but when I tried to apply it practically, I forgot the point that you need to exclude long capital gains up to rupees 1 lakh, and above 1 lakh you need to calculate the long-term capital gain tax. So this just a small point in one line I used to write that uh, uh, calculate long-term capital gains only above rupees 1 lakh as per section 112A. So these small points help me a lot sitting for the examination. And in MCQ, if any question comes from these points, then it would help you a lot because you remember what mistakes you have done while solving the MCQ booklet. Okay, so now coming after the strategy for the theory and practical papers, now coming back to the how your 1.5 days should actually look like. So once you have come back from your say first paper, that is FR paper, and you have 1.5 days, complete 1.5 days for your next paper. So suppose you come from your examination hall about 6 to 6:30, then you can take about 1 hour break. You can have some evening nashta or something. You can rest for around half an hour to 45 minutes, and then you can sit for the studying for the next paper at around 8 o'clock. I would highly recommend that you should start by 8 so that you can at least get a good amount of time on that day, so you can cover around so few important topics on that day. So I would say that 8 to 12, around 4 hours you should study on the day you have gone from the come from the exam for the previous subject. And on that day you should focus mainly on the C category topics, because as it is you have been studying for the entire day, right from 6 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening. Your mind is continuously working, and I think it would have been tired, it would have got tired. So I would mainly focus on the C category topics in these 1.5 days. Then the next day, suppose you sleep at 12 o'clock and you wake up at around 5:30 to 6 o'clock in the morning, then the next day you should focus only on the A category topics, the topics that are most important. So for say in SFM, portfolio management, derivatives, forex, and mergers and acquisitions and corporate evolutions are some of the important topics. So I would go through the topics in this on this day. The entire day I would spend only on A category topics, because they come for around 40 to 50% in your examination. And in these topics, mainly I should focus on solving the most important sums and solving 2 to 3 master questions, which would cover the entire chapter, or which would cover most of the points from the chapter. Then coming to the next day, that is the day of the examination. On that day, I know that people say that you should sleep for around 6 to 7 hours for your exam day, but I also try to sleep for 6 hours, but अगर सोने की ट्राई भी करोगे तो 6-7 घंटे नींद नहीं आती, क्योंकि पोर्शन ही नहीं हुआ होता. So it is up to you how much which position are you on that examination day. If you think that you can complete the portion in that 6 hours, then I think that you can sleep for 6 hours. But मेरा तो हमेशा थोड़ा portion बच ही जाता था, तो 4 to 5 hours was the maximum I could sleep on my exam day.
So I'll just
yeah, Hetvi.
put a point that I would say sleep even before the exam, one day before the exam day is very important. I have slept for 6 hours, 7 hours before every paper. It's okay if you revised 5 topics less. Just be confident that you've done 3 readings before that of that topic, and whatever comes, you'll be able to reproduce. So I would say sleep is really, really important, because I've seen people who by the time it's 4:30, almost they're so tired that they don't even have that energy in them to write their paper, because attempting a 100-mark paper is very important, I feel. So for me, I had not compromised on my sleep, I would say.
Definitely. So that also would help you when you give your mock. So in mock, you'll get a clear understanding whether you are able to complete your portion in 1.5 days. Agar 1.5 days mein ho raha hai, then well and good, you can sleep for 6 to 7 hours. But for me, in audit and direct tax per se, I think that I would have hardly slept for 3 to 4 hours, and I feel that it's okay, because if you could complete your portion 100%, if for you completing the 100% portion is more important, then with 4 to 5 hours of sleep also you can go about. And for the next paper, if it is not that lengthy, or if the portion is not that vast, maybe that you can sleep 1 or 2 hours extra for the next paper. So yeah, so for that day, you should on the examination, the day of the examination, you should mostly focus on the final B category topics or few additional topics that have been left, and mainly you should also focus on solving the important questions from the RTP and MTP. So for that, you should beforehand you should keep all the important questions from the MTP RTP that are highlighted, that are new questions, because MTP RTP generally contain many questions that are already covered in a study module. So I would mainly ask focus on only those questions that are important and that are new, that have not come past, or that are not representative in the study modules. Then also for practical and theory subjects, as I said, that you create a book which contains all the important points or mistakes that you have made, and for practical subjects or the formulas, you can go through them in the last 1 hour before the examination, and around 11:30 to 12 o'clock you should close all your books and you should be done with it. Even if you are not done with your 100% portion, it is okay, but 2 hours before the exam, I think you should be in a state of complete peace of mind, and you should not be continuously thinking अरे ये बच गया है वो बच गया है. अभी जितना बचा है, जितना तुमने किया है, that is enough, that is the highest that you could do, and you should believe in yourself कि बस इतना हो गया, इससे ज्यादा ना मेरे से हो पाता, और इससे ज्यादा की जरूरत भी नहीं. अगर 24 hours में मैंने जितना पोर्शन कंप्लीट किया, that is enough. And so going into the examination hall, you should not keep a book in your hand. You should go with a peace and calm state of mind, and I think if you follow this, then 100% you would do well. So thank you. This is what I wanted to speak on your exam strategy. Now handing over to Ayush for the further insights.
Yes. So over to Ayush. Thank you, Raj.
Hi everybody, and thank you Disha, Hetvi, and Raj to guiding our colleagues, or the students who are appearing for CA final exams for all the day. So once you are done with setting your plan, you have studied for 5 to 6 months or whatever is your study leave, and you have revised for 1.5 days. Then comes the last battle day or the exam day, okay, which is going to the matter the most. Okay, nothing in your none of the studies or none of your preparations would matter if you don't perform in those 3 hours on the exam days, 3 hours of the exam days. Okay, that's all it matter. That's the interesting thing, and it is all about you keeping your nerves and handling the pressure. Okay, so even if you take an example of any sport, like such as cricket. Okay, even if Virat Kohli sweats in practice for hours and hours, he plays his best game during the practice matches or everything, if he doesn't perform on the match day, okay, it is not going to matter. People are only going to remember him for his failure. Okay, so not to scare you, but keeping a reality in check, I feel that those 3 hours is all about keeping your nerves and keeping up and handling the pressure. And that's why the mindset before the exam, and your handling technique of handling the jitters and anxiety during that on that exam day is very important. Lot of us face go through anxiety, face anxiety on the day of exam. I myself have faced this thing. So the important thing to keep in mind, and is that you have to relax yourself completely, thinking like it is just another exam. Okay, yes, there at the back of the mind it would be like it is the biggest exam of your life, but you have to treat it like just another exam. Okay, and how would you relax your mind? Okay, just before the exam, what you can do is some of the techniques which help people are listening to your favorite music, or just watching your favorite cartoon, or your comfort web series helps people, or even for some exercising, or meditating just before the exam, or in the morning before the exam helps them calm their nerves. Okay, and prepare them for the exam. Okay, so it's not that you have to devote a good chunk of time, but if you're, let's say, you are traveling to your exam center, which takes half an hour or 15 minutes or whatever time, you can use that time to calm yourself down using these techniques, or you even deep breaths, or 4-7-8 technique of deep breathing helps you to calm your mind. So that is the most important thing which you have to uh, do. And just remember that you have to, keep your mindset should be a positive mindset during the exam day. That is because if you think negative things are going to happen to you. Okay, it will translate into your actions, and that actions would translate into the answers you are writing in the paper. So positive outlook is must. Okay, as Hetvi rightly said, as Raj rightly said, जितना भी हो चुका है पढ़ के तुम्हारा 1.5 days में, okay, or even before the 2 or 3 readings, how many jitna bhi readings you have done, trust your preparations as if that, it is going to win you that battle. Okay, don't ever think that कि okay मैंने नहीं पढ़ा है या 1.5 days में मेरा ये chapter cover नहीं हुआ है, or so then I won't be able to give the exam. But just keep in mind that you have been practicing for the last 4 or 5 months for that. So at somewhere in your subconscious mind, it always gets registered, and you recollect those things even if you haven't read it in 1.5 days or practiced it in 1.5 days. So just remember that you don't have to be nervous, and you have to remain calm, because it's all about those 3 hours. Okay, then even people, I've seen people revising before the just before exam, 10 to 15 minutes before the exam. Okay, I would suggest you stop reading, or stop reading at least 1 hour before the exam. Okay, but things work differently for different people. Okay, what so it all depends upon your comfort level, or how comfortable are you. But stopping or stopping the studies or reading 1 hour before the exam helps your mind retain whatever you have already learned, instead of hammering it with much more information which may or may not help you during the exam. Okay, even glancing through might sometimes help, but in majority of the cases it won't help you. So avoid reading 1 hour before the exam. Okay, also I would suggest reach your exam center 45 minutes before, half an hour, 45 minutes before the exam actually starts, or the reporting time, maybe, probably, just to avoid maybe the transportation, or there may be some routine checkups due to the COVID guidelines and everything, or just to calm yourself down before the exams. Okay, what if you reach within 15 minutes before the exam, what it would be is like, if you would be in a hush hush situation, and that would add on to your nervousness and anxiety. I would say avoid that, and avoid that. And then coming on to, once you are in the exam hall, you have the paper in your hand. Okay, question paper. So ICI gives 15 minutes of the reading time. How to utilize this 15 minutes reading time to its fullest? Okay, as soon as you get your paper, okay, start skimming through the theory questions, okay, or the long questions. Okay, the 70 marks portion, or the 100 marks in some practical subjects. Okay, you don't have to read the whole question or the whole paragraph. Just read the questions. Okay, and try to see or recollect whether you know this question or don't know this question. Okay, what I would say is, don't look at your MCQ booklet for the subjects which have MCQ in those 15-minute reading time, because it won't help you at that point of time, because when you are solving the MCQs again, you would have to read the question all over again. So you're wasting your 15 minutes time by uh, reading the MCQ booklets. However, this works differently for the elective paper, where I would suggest that you utilize your 15 minutes time to read the MCQs as well. Okay, because it has 4 case studies. Each case study has a 10 mark MCQs. Okay, so then at that point of time, you can also select your case studies basis the MCQs which uh, the maximum. Okay, so that would help in elective, but for the rest of the 7 papers, I would suggest don't read your MCQs during those 15 minutes time. In those 15 minutes, after you have skimmed through all the questions, okay, select the best 2 questions. Okay, and by questions I mean the main questions and not the sub questions. Okay, select the best 2 questions in and out, or you are very confident about. Okay, boss, ये तो मैं लिख ही लूंगा और nobody can challenge me in this. Okay, So that those two questions, attempting those two questions first would boost your confidence, as well as it will have an effect on the examiner's mind, because it will, your confidence will reflect in your answers, which will translate into changing examiner's mindset. Okay, so I would suggest ki you write, select those best two questions. Okay, and then you select the next three questions in the order of your comfort, or in the order which you are comfortable with, or how do you want, or a level of preparations. Okay, yes, but what if there would be that 5 out of the 5 questions you don't know any question very well. Okay, in those situations, see the which sub questions are you are best at, and which are going to fetch you the maximum marks. Okay, in that situation, attempt those questions first. Okay, those sub questions first. Okay, and if you know the rest of the sub questions, thoda bahut bhi hai aata hai, you attempt it, or you leave the space and you come back to that question again. But attempting your best, or keeping your best food first, is the uh, most important thing in this situation, or while utilizing the 15 minutes and attempting the paper. Okay, so yeah, so that would help. And but also coming back to elective. Okay, elective, what I understand now is that we have to attempt 4 case studies out of the 5 case studies. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, but what happens is that the case studies are very huge. Okay, so in that situation, what you can do is you just read the questions. Okay, and you decide which MCQs and which questions you know the best, and then select that case study. Okay, in that situation, even if you exceed your 15 minutes reading time, okay, it is okay if you utilize 20 minutes or 25 minutes of the reading time, because you have 4 hours. Okay, to solve the elective paper, and wasting or investing 5 minutes or 10 minutes extra would help you select the best case studies which you can attempt. Okay, so that's about utilizing your 15 minutes reading time. Okay, also then moving on to, once you're okay, the exam starts. Now you have started writing the paper. Okay, this is where the problem arises. Okay, lot of times what happens, if the paper tough aa raha hai, people panic immediately, सीधा panic button दबा देते हो, and you start to blank out. Okay, you don't have to do that, because understand one thing, if you are facing a paper as tough, chances are that other students are also facing, or are also considering that paper as tough. Okay, so you all are sailing in the same boat. So don't think that कि अरे ये मुझे paper tough जा रहा है, but मेरे friend would would be able to easily solve them, or something like that. So you don't have to press the panic button immediately. Just as I said, it's all about keeping your calm and handling the pressure. At that moment, just take a deep breath, and see which sub questions you are able to answer. Just like I said, what are the questions which you know, and start with them. Solving them would then slowly start boosting your confidence, which would help in the later section of your paper. Okay, even if you don't know a particular sub question or a particular answer, or you only know partial answer, okay, you solve till that moment of time. Okay, and then leave the space. This usually happens when once you have started solving the question, you realize कि अच्छा ये तो कुछ और था, ये किसी और adjustment का related था. Now I don't know the question, but trust that you have at least solved the starting portion of the question. Okay, if you realize or if you recollect that uh, bit ahead, well and good, solve whatever you know. But if you don't, okay, I would suggest leave that part and come back to it later on, once you have attempted a very good chunk of the paper. Okay, so even people get blanked during the exam. Okay, paper aaya, you have started solving, and out of nowhere, after 15 to 20 minutes, you start blanking out. Okay, what to do at that time? First and foremost thing, what you have to do is, don't look at a fellow students who are giving the exam. That would all the more create panic, and which won't help you. What I would calmly suggest is, just take a deep breath, relax for 5 minutes, drink water, okay, and then again go back to your question. Okay, what in that case, what you can do is probably you can, if you have selected question number 2 as your first attempting question, okay, you can probably go on to question number 3 or 4 and see कि okay उसमें से कुछ आ रहा है क्या, whether I am not blanking in that, and attempt it first, okay, and then come back to that later that section again. Okay, so that would be the most important thing, because अगर बॉस तुम डर गए तो तुम मर गए. Okay, so you don't have to hit the panic button immediately and try to sail through the situation. I know it's easier said than done, okay, but doing it is what you have to do. And ye doing it ka wala part, how would you know, is as my colleagues rightly said, okay, कि अगर तुम mocks दोगे, if you are simulating that 15 days 16 days ka exam, or even writing the papers, okay, that simulation will help you dealing with this kind of situation. If you're directly going on to write a paper, okay, and you encounter this situation, it would be very tough for you, not impossible, but tough for you to navigate through that situation. However, if you've already done that before, okay, you would be like, done that, been here, done that before, kind of a scenario. So it would be easier for you. Okay, then coming on to some paper strategies and answer presentation or something like that. Okay, so couple of strategies which I used, or the presentation in which I attempted my papers was, first of all, I always thought ki I would suggest to you is never attempt question number 1 at the start of the paper, even if you are well versed with that very question. Okay, and why is that? Because question number 1 is always a compulsory question. Okay, and it is always going to be a lengthy question. Okay, उससे होगा क्या ना, अगर आप क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 फर्स्ट पहले अटेम्प्ट करोगे, okay, it would be like, if it's a very lengthy question, and it is going to be, okay, it would consume major chunk of your time. Okay, and that would create panic for other questions. It would have a ripple effect on other questions as well. Okay, so I would suggest ki you answer your best 2 questions first, okay, and keep the first question for uh, in the middle of your paper or at the end of your paper, whatever suits you. But this is the strategy which I used, because it really helped me to solve question number 1 at the start, because it gave me time to answer my best questions, or even completing 50% of my paper first in some time bound manner. And then even if my question number 1 takes some time, it's okay, because I know that only 1 question or 2 questions are left, so I'm almost done through with my 60% of my paper. Okay, another strategy is what I think most of you should do, and even people with multiple attempts can follow, is using a 40 50 60 strategy. Okay, and now what is 40 50 60 strategy? Okay, as soon as you get a paper or you have started writing a paper, first focus only on securing first 40 passing marks. Okay, don't directly jump to, okay, अच्छा इसमें तो मेरे को 80 मिलने वाला है, या इसमें तो I'm definitely going to fail. Try to secure by answering the questions to your best level, by securing those 40 marks, then jump a level and go to 50 marks. Okay, and then after you are confident enough, okay, now I have a legible chance to secure 50 marks, then go to 60 marks and target for exemption. Okay, so you are taking everything step by step. Okay, but at the same time you are focusing on the larger target, which is gaining exemption. At the same time you are looking at the micro perspective of passing. Okay, so that is one of the strategies. Another strategy which I would suggest is that attempt the maximum number of marks. Okay, if you're not even able to attempt 100 marks, I would suggest answer the questions that possess the maximum number of marks. So for example, what I would say is, let's say you have 15 minutes of time left, you have still 1 question to go, and the bifurcation is 16 marks for one question number, sub question number 1, and 4 marks for sub question number 2. Now the thing may be, sub question number 2 very well in such a scenario, in such that you are sure that you would get full marks. Okay, so you would probably go and start solving that 4 marks in the 15 minutes, and then start the 16 mark question. Okay, but I would suggest do the other way around, because even if you are very confident in that 4 marks wala question, chances are that you may get 4 marks, but you may not get 4 marks the whole. Okay, instead if you're attempting that 16 marks wala question, okay, the chances are you are in the 15 minutes time you would probably get to solve or work through many working notes itself. Okay, and you may never know which working note has a maximum weightage or lower weightage. So the thing may be, while attempting a 16 marks ka question, you may be you may be able to write only 3 working notes within that 15 minutes, but chances are that 3 working notes may fetch you almost 7 to 8 marks, which is much more than that 4 marks. Okay, because if you consider timing utna hi lagne wala, even if you attempt a 4 mark question or a 16 mark question halfway. Okay, so I would suggest that. Okay, now coming
Could
to
I just put one point? So this is
yeah,
something
sure.
that has, I feel, probably will help you. Probably you have last 10 minutes left, okay? And probably whether it's law, income tax, indirect tax, economic law, SCMP, where the question will ask for certain opinions. You don't have time to answer the whole question, but just writing the question number and writing in one sentence your last conclusion opinion because you've read that question in the reading time, getting that 1 mark and answering 2 or 3 such questions and getting those 2 or 3 marks is also very important. So just writing a yes or a no with the question number will also give you a mark.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I agree with you, Hetvi. So I was just coming to that part. In that was in the presentation kind of a thing. So okay, what could be a presentation for an theory answers? Okay, so people, lot of lecturers or teachers suggest this, and this is a tried and tested method as well. You divide your answer into facts of the case, provision, analysis, and conclusion. Okay, so this is the standard, and I think most of you would have followed it in inter CA as well. Okay, but that gives a background to the examiner. So, okay, this guy knows the provisions and this guy knows how to analyze them, because probably 1 mark would be allocated for stating the provision. However, 1 or 2 marks would be allocated for the analysis bit as well, and coming to 1 mark may be allocated to the conclusion part. So even writing analysis or conclusion may fetch you good marks, or even writing the provision can fetch you 1 or 2 marks, which may be very crucial when you are probably at 38, 39, or even 59 or something like that. Okay, so yes, but even if you're in shortage of time, yes, you can skip those part and you can just write it in brief, as just like Hetvi said. Okay,
Just to say that
also
1 mark can even be very helpful if you're aiming for a gold medal for a particular subject. So yes, that 1 mark is important at that stage also.
yes, I agree. And even what I would suggest along with doing that is just highlight the keywords or underline the keywords in your answer then and there itself. Okay, which may help examiner draw focus on that particular point. And even if your language framing or is not up to the mark, seeing that okay, this guy or girl has covered this concept, or by underlining this concept, he may or may not, he may give you mark for that particular answer. So yes, try to underline the keywords or the important points which you feel relevant, which the examiner should see first, and then go on to reading the pointers. Okay, also up till IPCC we used to have time, we used to for accounts or practical subjects we used to use a scale, pencil, draw those columns and everything. Okay, I would frankly suggest forget about pencil, scale, and everything. Okay, during your final exams, because first you won't have time to do that much of presentation, and secondly, honestly, it does not matter whether your presentation is up to the mark or not for this, in terms of the columns or the linings, for accounts, or even costing for that matter. Okay, it does not matter. What the only thing matters is your content and how much are you going to attempt. Okay, so probably most of you would be used to using a scale or pencil and everything, but I would suggest to avoid them, and which would if, and you would see that effect because it would save 4 to 5 minutes of your time. Okay, which would help you attempt one more question. Okay, Now coming to the next point is the time management during 3 hours. Okay, first of all, do factor in the time of 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes for filling up of your exam detail or your uh, hall ticket number or roll number and everything, because that does consume 5 to 7 minutes. So when you are planning time managing for each and every question, okay, just factor that in. Okay, secondly, time management is important, but just realize that even if you spend more than the allocated time, so let's say you have allocated 10 minutes for a particular answer, okay, even if you exceeded those 10 minutes, it's 15 minutes. Okay, okay, uh, don't be afraid that it is going to affect the whole paper. Okay, you complete that question to the best you can. Okay, and don't, since it's already 15 minutes, I would leave the question as it is. Okay, I would strictly say that don't do that. Complete a question, your answer completely, even if it takes 20 minutes. Okay, and then try to accommodate that time, okay, for the rest of the answers. Okay, so probably let's say you spend 20 minutes instead of 10 minutes. So now that 10 minutes you can, 2 minutes you can accommodate in each of the answers. Okay, but that does that mean you have to compromise on the quality? No, you should not compromise on the quality of the answer. And for that, many people, I have seen many of my friends using a 60-40 ka technique. Okay, now 60-40 technique is kaisa? So they would probably solve the 60 marks ka paper, okay, in such a beautiful way, okay, that examiner would be examiner has to give you, at least 75% marks on those 60 marks ka answers. Okay, and then for the remainder of the, and for that they use pretty much of a good 2 hours, 2 hours 15 minutes. And then the remainder of the 40 marks, they just use the shortcut approach, or just writing the provision and the analysis and the conclusion in short point. Okay, so that 40 may fetch you, even if it fetches 25 to 30% of the marks. Okay, that 10 to 12 marks would then add on to your 60 marks which you have attempted very well. Okay, so you can follow this 60-40, but obviously it is upon your comfort, and whatever the stage and whatever the preparations you have been following on during the last 4 to 5 months. Okay, you should not try anything new during the 3 hours of the paper. Okay, and you should, ideally it's recommended that you only use the techniques which you have previously used during your some other BCom papers or inter CA papers or something like that, or something you have attempted during your mocks or the test series. Okay, so that is a very important thing. And okay, so this I will give you a personal example of my as well. During the DT paper, I knew a particular question I very well. Okay, so in that case, I spent all for a 5 marks question, I spent 30 minutes. Okay, but then I compensated that 30 minutes without panicking in other question for other questions, and I could complete 100 marks of the DT. So yeah, that's the thing you can follow. Okay, and third, after you complete your exam, what I would suggest is, do not, and as Raj also rightly said, do not discuss your paper with any of your friends. Okay, if at all you get to know though your answer is wrong or not adequate, it will only add on to your anxiety or your fear, which may hamper your audit paper. Okay, which was the case with me, because during our November 20 attempt as well, SFM paper was the most difficult one, and it had affected my preparations for audit very severely. Okay, so yes, don't do that, and don't, I would recommend, don't discuss the paper and forget the paper there and there itself. Lastly, manifesting your dreams. So probably we have seen a lot of reels, and came across a lot of articles which says that you have to manifest your dreams, or you can probably manifest anything you want. Okay, and that is true. Okay, so you always have to manifest and keep on remembering. And even as Disha said at the start of the lecture, that you keep your aim on the wall, or you write a quote or whatever, and remember it, see it every day, or say uh, CA Ayush Dedhia AIR this or something like that. Okay, so that helps you manifest the your goals and attempts. Also, if you think big from the start and don't think small, so it's like if you think about a palace, you are bound to put in the efforts to get a palace, but if you only dream about a house, okay, you are only going to end up buying a house. Okay, also be optimistic. Don't be pessimistic like मैं ये नहीं कर सकता हूँ यार, मेरे से नहीं होगा. Okay, be always be optimistic. It's like कि हाँ मुझसे तो होने ही वाला, मैं तो कर ही दूंगा ये चीज. But at the same time, just keep a reality in check and don't be in cloud nine or something like that, which would hamper your or shatter or what do you say, uh, thoughts or anything like that, which would bring you down crashing. Okay, and always also, if you ever feel anxious, or उसने हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है, just close your eyes, think about the person you love the most, be it your family, be it your parents, would be it a loved one, or your friends. Okay, probably, and think about them and think that you are doing this so that you can bring a smile on their face, or you can make them proud. That always helps, because I always used to think that, okay, no, I'm not doing this CA for myself. Okay, that may be one of the reasons, but I want to see my parents smile, and you know see the feeling of that pride on their face. And the day my results came, I could see that, and that was the best feeling one could ever feel. So yeah, keep that in mind. And also, I would like to close my session saying that he always attempt your attempt, even if you're not 100% done, even if you're at 50% preparation, always give your attempt. Okay, because you may never know that कब कहाँ कैसे कौन से अटेम्प्ट में कितना इजी या कितना डिफिकल्ट पेपर आने वाला है. Okay, and also if your one of your paper goes not so well, okay, don't think that कि अभी क्या ही फायदा मेरा आगे का ग्रुप देखे. Okay, it may so happen is that if you give those paper, probably chances are you might be failing, let's say SFM, but probability is also that you may gain exemptions in audit or law. Okay, which would help you attempting less 2 papers during the next attempt, if at all you are going to the next attempt. Okay, so I would always say, or even in that case, probably ऐसा हो जाएगा कि you would feel that कि okay, I am not done well in this paper. Okay, so मैं आगे का नहीं दूंगा. Okay, and you don't end up giving that. And then when the results come, okay, you see कि अच्छा यार इसमें तो 40 मिल गया मुझे. So I could have given next 2 papers, and उसमें मुझे अच्छा marks आ जाता, I could have cleared the attempt. So the moral of the story is that always attempt your attempt. Okay, always trust your preparations. Okay, and never doubt yourself. You can do it. And even for people with multiple attempts, you are giving the attempts and failing, see that trust your process. Okay, what you have done, maybe you need to just tweak the techniques. Okay, you have been following the right material. Okay, and I would say stick to that material in your subsequent attempts as well. Okay, you just need to tweak your study method, or you have to identify the pain points where you are lacking. You may be lacking in what do you say, probably paper writing. Okay, you can recollect provisions well, but you cannot translate that on the paper. So probably try focusing on that. And yes, with this I end my session, and I open the floor for a Q&A session.
Yes, thank you very much, Ayush. And I request everyone who has questions to post it in the chat box. That will be easier to monitor. I think Akshay had raised his hand earlier. So Akshay, if you can put your question in the chat box. And Isha's question, I think it is not related to today's topic. But if anyone can still help her, anyone who has done industrial training.
So yes, currently I would, if you have to go to Isha's question, I would say, is industrial training worth it? In one answer, if you're ready to slog and hustle, and if you're ready to manage it, it is 200% worth it. If you are sure that after your clearing your exam, you want to serve in the industry for the growth of our nation, if you're very sure that industry is where your calling is, don't even give it a second out for not taking an industrial training, I would say.
Hello.
Okay.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I have 2-3 questions with respect to exam also and while going to study leave also. So I had given May 22, but I just failed by few marks in group 1. The main reason was that I have some professor notes in SFM also. There was one question of EMA which we used to had taught that 2 by n, and the formula was that I checked in study material was 2 upon n plus 1. So there may be cases where we our professor answers and the study material answers get differences, but that we came to know after the exam. So that I came to know when I give the exam, because before that my professor was also very sure that this is the correct method which we are following, and even after exam also she was very sure that no, this is the correct method and you get the answer. But when I got the copies, I checked, so I was not I did not got the marks full. So I for that marks I had to give again in November 22. So what would be your suggestion? Like, should we just stick to the study material and we should not refer to the professor's material? Because I have seen many cases like our professor answers and study material answers got differences, and we need to faces the consequences.
So Akshay, I think that referring the study material is up to your choice, but I would say that even if you refer to the questions of your professor, I think that once you should go through the study material entirely, and you could also find some certain other topics that are not covered in your notes, probably in your professor's notes. So that also you can collate them and bring it into your summary notes also. And also some differences or some mistakes that you find in your professor's notes, you can change the same in your notes if you check it with your study material. So I think that definitely once you should go through the entire study material while doing your revisions.
I'll just
Okay.
add on to what Raj said. One thing, ICI study material has to be considered the Bible.
Correct.
Definitely.
Second thing, even in my session, I said while you're doing your first reading, it is advisable to scan through the study material simultaneously. So if at that time you've come to know that this is the point of difference and that's the time when you've made your markings and highlights, I don't think this issue would face up there.
Yeah, correct.
And just to add on here, Akshay,
Yeah.
so now since you have already referred your professor material in the first attempt, what I would suggest is that you don't refrain from that.
Correct.
Okay, or wo fake mat do. Okay, what you can do is probably during your current reading for your November attempt, what you can do is you can use that material, but at the same time keep the module for that particular chapter or topic open so that you get to get a comparative. Okay, ठीक है, module में है. Even if you just glance through it, it's okay. But you should know okay, what does module say that for that particular topic. But just don't throw away your professor's note or something like that, because that is what you have studied from for during the first attempt, and that is what probably you are comfortable with, is what I would say.
Correct. The second question is with respect to while we write the answers, like I have faced this issue. For example, if I'm writing question number 2 and in sub question there is a B and C, I know A and B correctly, but I don't know the C part, or maybe vice versa. You can say I know the A and C part, but I don't know the B part. But I know if I go ahead, I know question number 3 ka A part. So I don't know about this, but as in InterCA we had taught that we used to follow the same sequence A, B, and C. You just skip this B part and then jump to the next question. But what happens, like there's some space issue, or maybe we face answer बहुत बड़ा है तो वापस पूरा वो हिल जाएगा. So is it okay we write A, C, B, or B, A, C? I had this confusion.
Yes, Akshay. Yes, you can attempt the question A, C, B, or C, B, A, whatever.
Yeah.
As far as your question number 1, the main question is together at one place.
Yeah,
Okay.
Correct. That is not.
And even if you're not able to answer some question, okay, leave 1 or 2 extra pages. Then the required length you are envisaging कि okay मेरे को सिर्फ 2 पेज लगेगा. Leave 3 or 4 pages. Okay, ICI is providing you papers. They are providing you supplements. Don't worry about that. Okay, just add. Yeah, and but at the end of the day, if you're not utilizing those 2 pages, okay, just cancel out the pages using your pen.
Correct.
Okay, otherwise they would consider that it's the end of your answer sheet.
Correct. And last question is quite personal. Like I have to give now both groups. I'm planning to give both the groups. I am just doing now group one ka studies. I'm going group wise, but I can see. I just got the study leave few days back from the office, and now if I see I have only 2 months proper study plan, and in 1st November there's an exam, so I cannot pick up the new question before 15 days also. So right now I'm planning to go for a whole group one and 2 subjects of group two because of the less time, because DT and cost will take a lot of time to study the whole subjects. Of course, I'm going to study, but not the because of the time constraint. I cannot see that I will be able to give much time to it, because of course there's a group one also I have to give, and group two maybe I have to do economic law. IDT also will take time. So what would be your suggestions? Like I just want to have the opinion. Like
Can I take this?
yeah, sure.
So you've prepared for May attempt for DT, IDT?
No.
If
Actually, I had gone for group one only because of the group two. My classes was not completed for group two, so I had to skip group two. I had given group one, but I just failed by few marks in group one. So right now, what is the situation is like I am pending with DT ka lectures, thoda IDT ka is also pending, and I am right now doing group one ka studies because I want to go group wise. I want to get it done with group one at least, because I know I have studied the SFM, I have studied the FR, so I know that it will not take much time.
I feel that if you are able to complete your classes and give a reading and one revision, still you
Correct.
should go for group two, because
Yeah.
if that group one is helping you to set off your group two, if your group one is helping you to leverage for your group two, then I feel you should go for group two, and there's no harm in attempting a paper, I feel.
Correct. That is truly correct.
Also, adding on to what Hetvi said, so I think that first, since you have just got your study leave, so first you can complete a single revision of group one entirely and see that how confident are you after completing a first revision. If you
Absolutely.
think, maybe you can also solve a paper, and if you think that you are in a good situation after your revision, then maybe you can think of group two. But first of all, I think that you should completely
Focus on
yeah.
group one only, like not
Yeah,
think of
and
group two,
suppose
right?
in after 15-20 days, if you think that I am a quite settled position in group one, then you can maybe think of group two.
Correct. Yeah, that's the
Side
exact
by side,
approach
if
I
you
am
want, you
following.
can watch. Yeah, side by side, if you want, you can watch lectures for around 3 to 4 hours every day for whatever pending lectures are left. But rest all, I think that you should right now focus on group one only.
Yeah, I have kept some time for economic law reading, like we just read the 2-3 pages or whatever, because it covers the 3 chapters of law, so it gets connected. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, guys.
So Piyush Gosar has a question. Is online mode preferable or offline? I think he's referring to the classes which are held online lectures vis-a-vis the physical attending of the classes. So
I would just say that whatever mode you select, just be disciplined. If you're going for online, see to it that whatever timetable your classes has scheduled for it, you are following it. If it's offline, you are attending it. Whatever you're missing out, you are have a backup for it, what to do. But what worked out for us was uh, for May 22 attempt, we didn't even have an option of offline. So we had only offline and pen drive lectures. And if it's saving your time, and if it's saving your travel time, and that much time you're able to put in doubt solving with your other friends at the time of the class itself, why not go for that benefit then?
Just one point here. So I had few offline lectures. I had the privilege. One benefit I felt of offline sessions was you can give an excuse in articleship you have that class at that time and leave. Sometimes if you are going for recorded lectures, a lot of times it's very discretionary and you end up missing it, and even your office guys know. So sort of like it's a very
So that's what I said. You need to be disciplined,
yeah,
very disciplined.
very
Disha, we are also recording this one, so you told that.
right, it was an excuse to at least follow that. और अगर 7 बजे सुबह lecture है, कुछ भी करके आप उठ के जाओगे, even though at home probably will not get up at 7 and start studying. Exam अगर offline है, तो probably you'll go there. So I think that was slightly beneficial. But if you're going to be disciplined, I mean, nothing better.
सीरीज की तरह नहीं देखना है, जब जब मन हुआ थोड़ा थोड़ा देख लिया, वैसा नहीं.
You can't do that.
No. And also it comes down to your personal preference. Like, if I go for online lectures, I don't have an attention span of more than 15 minutes. I would start with getting with my phone or, something on my desk. kind of a thing, which is which may not be the case in the offline lectures,
I would say the
because
online teachers are so used to that they'll see to that they're catching your focus all the time.
maybe possibly but yeah, it at the end of the day, it's upon your comfort of whether you're comfortable with online lectures, or you are disciplined enough to you should have a teacher in front of you, and that classroom environment.
Okay, so I'll now formally close this session with a vote of thanks to all the four speakers. Just to highlight one key point that I found, Disha gave a good idea about a mistake book or a query book to be maintained. Hetvi gave a good idea about tentative chapter weightage available on BOS, apart from many other ideas, right? Raj had a unique idea of listening to your own voice notes later on when you are traveling. That was very unique, actually. And Ayush also raised the point about reaching on time, because reaching late or reaching in a hurry would just, increase more nerves than what you need. So, and best of all is it's a recorded lecture. You can even refer to it later on. So I thank all the speakers for this effort, and I'm sure this will be looked upon later on also, because many people must be traveling or something. So no worries about that. But it was a healthy discussion, a healthy input from everyone. I'm sure even all four of you must have learned something from each other, and which will be helpful in professional exams that you will be giving for the future. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks everyone. And I close this session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
so much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.